Overwatch is a game that needs no introduction. I mean, seriously, if you haven't heard anything about it by now, then what have you been doing the last few months? The hype for Blizzard's new competitive FPS title has seemingly reached every corner of the internet, and for good reason. Overwatch was first introduced to me in late 2014 when a friend showed me some of the early multiplayer and character trailers, and even back then I was blown away by the game's diverse gameplay and beautiful art style. It feels kind of silly to say this now, but it almost didn't feel real at the time. Like a game with seemingly so much originality and polish, such a variety of playable characters yet perfectly balanced gameplay, it just seemed too good to be true. But now that Overwatch is officially out, and after 2 weeks of playing it almost non-stop, I can officially say it's met and exceeded nearly all of my expectations. Upon first booting up Overwatch, it's apparent just how much tender love and care Blizzard put into it. This has to be one of the most polished games I've ever played. The menu design is slick, the art style is top-notch, and the sound design is incredible. The music composition does a great job of capturing both the cultural significance of each map location, as well as the game's heroic theme overall. Though the graphics in Overwatch aren't that technically impressive, the game still looks sleek and just drop-dead gorgeous at times. My outdated system can easily manage over 60 frames per second on ultra settings, and friends of mine who only own laptops have bought and played Overwatch without any kind of problems. It's awesome that us gamers with lower spec systems can still enjoy Overwatch without sacrificing the game's impressive visuals, so hats off to Blizzard for that. Now let's get to the gameplay. On a fundamental level, Overwatch reminds me a lot of the Super Smash Bros. Series. It's a casual shooter at heart, a game with a relatively low skill floor making it easy for newer players to pick it up and have a good time playing it. But it also has enough strategy and complexity to satisfy even the most hardcore competitive gamers. In Overwatch, most of that complexity comes from the 21 playable heroes to choose from, and how each hero plays into your team's overall composition. Now, heroes are categorized into 4 different groups: offense, defense, tanks, and support. And though it's wise to stick to these categories when choosing characters based on the objective, most heroes can be deadly in any situation, especially in the right player's hands. It's hard to believe that with such a diverse lineup of playable characters that the game can still remain balanced, but Blizzard was actually able to pull it off. Despite the outcry over heroes like Bastion or McCree, every character has weaknesses that can easily be exploited with a well thought out counterpick. Thanks to each hero's special abilities, you have the power to both decimate and be decimated by the other team. It's these abilities that encourage players to switch heroes often to adapt and counter what the opposing team is currently doing. Sure, the game isn't perfectly balanced, and I'd be lying if I said I don't think some characters need some nerfs or some adjustments, but at the same time, if Blizzard simply left every character as is, I wouldn't really have any cause to complain, and that's almost unheard of for launch games nowadays. But what's truly amazing about the heroes is just how fun they all are to play. The special abilities I mentioned earlier makes playing every hero a completely unique experience. Even heroes that share the same category can play drastically different from one another, with each hero as satisfying to play as the next. With most competitive games, I find myself maining one character, class, or weapon. Even in the similar game Team Fortress 2, I played a vast majority of my time as a scout because I didn't find the other characters as enjoyable to play. But my playing time in Overwatch thus far has been so varied, and at any time during a game I relish the chance to switch characters because they're all just fun as fuck to play. That's a feeling that I'm not sure I've ever felt before in a competitive shooter game. Now, matches in Overwatch consist of 2 teams fighting to complete an objective. There isn't a ton of variety in the game types, as they'll usually consist of capturing zones, controlling zones, and pushing payloads across the map. These are pretty standard for objective-type multiplayer games, and after seeing the amount of creativity that went into the heroes, it's a shame that the game modes aren't equally as interesting. But these game modes stay fresh thanks again to the large cast of characters and how they play off each other as a team. With 6 players on each team, it's a challenge in and of itself to make sure that your team's composition is a successful one, and that can vary greatly based on where you're at on the map, the objective type, and the opposing team's heroes. It's a challenge that can lead to moments that are both ultra satisfying, but also ones that are extremely frustrating. Seriously, I've experienced some of my highest highs and lowest lows playing this freaking game so far. I've had games where my team just completely dominated thanks to combining character specials and ultimates effectively, and it's just incredible when that happens. But I've had just as many matches where my team's the one getting steamrolled, and those matches just suck, like they really, really suck. But those high moments is what keeps me coming back, and the sheer range of possible outcomes for a match keeps the game fun and dynamic. Unfortunately though, with this type of gameplay, it means that teamwork is absolutely essential. In the times I've played Overwatch without a group of friends, it can be more frustrating than fun. It's hard to stay on the same page with teammates you don't know, especially when they don't have a mic. And you often get paired up with other individuals who could care less about team composition and choose to play their favorite character regardless, leaving your team at a disadvantage. I'm pretty lucky that I have a good group of friends that also bought Overwatch, as most of the time I've had at least one partner to enter matchmaking with, but I know a lot of others aren't so lucky. If you often play online multiplayer games by yourself and without a microphone, then this might not be the game for you. Blizzard has already announced that a ranked matchmaking mode will be added in a future update, so I'm hoping that when that launches we'll see most large player groups move to that playlist, leaving quick play as a friendlier place for solo players. But even despite the highly competitive gameplay, Blizzard clearly thought of ways to keep Overwatch accessible for the casual audience. Simple decisions like not showing your teammates full stats helps shelter newer players from undue hate. Calling out specific stats at the end of each match and letting users upvote each other is a great way to recognize individual play, and seeing your name on the play of the game clip never fails to satisfy. Sure, these plays may not always be that impressive, but the criteria seems open enough that it feels like anyone can earn it in any given match. Even the simple decision to count all assists as eliminations goes a long way in making everyone feel like they're contributing to the team. Even as a not-so-casual gamer, I can still appreciate all these decisions that Blizzard's made to make Overwatch enjoyable for a large general audience. Now, playing online allows players to rank up by gaining experience in online matches. It's a fairly simple ranked system, though it's truly only indicative of how much you play, since you're never really penalized for playing badly. However, I would hope with the future ranked matchmaking that we would get a rank that's a bit more meaningful. Every time you reach a new level, you're rewarded with a loot box that contains 4 pieces of loot, usually consisting of spray tags and voice lines unique to each hero. The boxes themselves are fine, and it definitely feels like an achievement every time you open one. That is, until you see what you've got. At the time of recording this, I'm at level 33, so naturally I've received 33 loot boxes, and in that span I've received only 3 legendary skins and some epic pieces, but that's really about it for the good stuff. The vast majority of the time you'll just be getting voice lines, spray tags, and player icons, and though some of these can be nice, they aren't very exciting compared to some of the skins and emotes in the game. If you're desperate for loot, you can always pay for a pack of loot boxes using real money, but based on my drop rate, even buying a $20 pack wouldn't really seem worth it. But hey, it's your money, so that's your call to make. Despite the mediocre drop rates, I don't really mind the loot system here, as it's a decent enough incentive to keep me playing the game. At least, for now. Here's the thing with Overwatch, it's an amazingly fun game to play, but at the moment there isn't really anything to do in the game outside of playing those same 3 objective modes over and over again. Thankfully the game launched with 12 maps to play on, so that helps, but even with the wide cast of heroes to play, I have to imagine that the multiplayer will grow stale unless Blizzard adds a new game type soon. And though I had no expectation of this being added at launch, it still boggles my mind that there isn't any type of campaign content in this game. Blizzard has done an amazing job crafting the world of Overwatch with these beautiful animated short films, but upon loading the game there isn't any hint of narrative to be found. We know that we're supposed to be in this last group of heroes brought together to fight some new evil in the world, yet all we do is sit in control points and push cars around. That doesn't feel very heroic to me. I mean, there's no doubt that Blizzard has something in mind for the future of Overwatch, whether that's standalone single-player titles, a TV series, or maybe even a full movie, but none of these are confirmed right now. And with the first title in a brand new IP, I would have expected a deeper, more significant experience than the one we actually got, and that's truly a shame. But even if I do eventually lose interest in this game, the overwhelmingly positive experience I've had playing it will keep me eagerly waiting for what's next. It's so far one of the most fun and addictive multiplayer games I've ever played, and that's why I can wholeheartedly recommend trying Overwatch. To me, it's easily worth the $40 price of admission, especially when you have at least one friend to play it with. And if you don't, I honestly think it's still probably worth a try, it's just that much fun. And the best part is that this is only the tip of the iceberg. The potential for this franchise is sky high, and we should all be excited to see what Blizzard has in store for us in the Overwatch universe.